All right, here we are. Welcome to Hearthcenter. It's week 5. We got a special edition for you tonight with our Battlegrounds champions joining us as well. Before we get to that, of course, we do not have cameras tonight. A little bit too difficult to manage it with somebody in a Discord call, but we are going to start off with our regular hosts, beginning up at the top right. He's back for round 2 of Hearthstone and live from Sweden. It's our wild guru with the name of the best goalie of all time as well. It's MartyB. How you doing, Marty?
I'm good. It's a little late. I'm actually watching a game right now. We are currently up 4-2, so very exciting. But yeah,
Nice.
I figured I'd step aside and come join Hearth Center for a bit.
Sounds like a plan. Well, fortunately, you can do that and still watch at the same time, so all good. Next to the bottom right, with one of the best gifts around, it's THL's newest Hearthstone playing doctor. It's LotusKnight. How you doing tonight, Lotus?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Happy to I think we have so much stuff to talk about, so I'll be very short, but I'm just really happy to be here. Happy for the new expansion coming soon, and etc.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have so much to cover. I'm not even getting into the 35 new cards that are revealed, but we will of course probably be talking ad nauseum about that soon. I of course am your host RonMexico, and with us tonight, very excited to have here our special guest joining us in celebration of their Battlegrounds Series Alpha Season victory. We've got Bob's Bounty Hunters. We've got all 4 players here. I know you might possibly talk over each other. So starting with Jumpfloat, how are you doing, Jumpfloat? Captain of the team, congrats.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I originally wasn't going to be able to make it, but I'm here and super ready to celebrate our win.
Yeah, awesome. And the rest of the team, what should I go in order of points? You guys could just decide for yourself.
Wait, do you know the order of points? You should absolutely go in order of
I
points.
don't, I don't
think
know the
I'm
order of
last.
points, so.
Okay, well, HapaBear, then you're up. How's it going?
Great.
I think you were the highest point earner on the team.
I was. Oh my gosh, I had no idea at all. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us on. And I just had a blast in that league. It was one of the best parts of these last 10 weeks, basically, for me. So super
Awesome.
happy we were able to be a part of it.
Well, I love to hear that. I did actually start with the lowest point earner, but you jumped ahead of the pack because you were captain. After HapaBear, then we have Andrasti with only a 1 point difference over the final one to introduce, which is Pocky. But go ahead, Andrasti. How are you doing?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Glad my whole team could be here. It's been so much fun playing in this league with everybody, and didn't have a whole lot of experience playing in team situations before, only a little bit before this. But I gotta say, it was a lot of fun to work together with these guys.
Yeah, well, you guys certainly knocked it out of the park. So, pretty impressive season, all things considered. I think you just demolished the competition. So, not bad for your first foray into a team here. And lastly, we're going to close out with the 4th member of the team. You did have more points than Jumpfloat, at least. So, there's that. You're not totally in the last place. But how are you doing,
It's
Pocky?
okay. It's okay. Jumpfloat was far more integral to the team, and I was just happy to be a part of it. The games were fun. Playing with Jumpfloat, Hapa, and Andrasti was a blast. Getting to know them even better. And yeah, I mean the format of the league was kind of unique and
Wait. We do not use that word.
unique.
League format series. Yeah.
Yes.
Blizzard Legal has made it clear that from a
Oh,
while
Not
back
bad.
that's why we're
Um,
Team Hearth
Oh,
Legends. Yeah,
I
but
remember hearing about that a little bit. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now I know.
yeah, we'll just tack on a format series every time we hear it. No big deal.
You guys clearly don't listen to Coin Concede. They're always saying league format series.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
No, that it makes sense. I wouldn't even think about it. But no, the format was fun, and I think a lot of people in the Battlegrounds community are looking for more like competitive formats than just
Mhm.
like ladder, and so this was a super good way for us to break into that.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see more of it soon. This was just season alpha, so there's very likely going to be possibly a season beta, possibly a season one coming. So, of course, stay tuned as always to this Twitch channel and the THL Discord to hear more news. But moving on, since we do have a ton of stuff to cover, we're real quickly going to run through the players of the week from THL that was last week for each series, and then we will get straight to recapping this BG's victory for our guests. To start off, LotusKnight, can you read me the player of the week for Legacy?
Can I? Of course I can. The player of the week for Legacy is Sheep City, who spent last week improving to 3-1 in the 3 seed and jumping up to the 2 seed for this week. Both Stubbs of Prey and Standard THL Degenerates were looking for their first win of the season in a tightly fought match, and it came down to Sheep City, pulling off an insane 3-1 victory to clinch the week 13-10 late Sunday.
Wow. Impressive win. Yeah, congratulations to Sheep City. And a big first win, too, for Standard THL Degenerates. Hopefully that can be a sign of more to come. Next up for Hero, Marty, can you read me off the player of the week for Hero?
Yeah, so this comes from Brushy. So we have Turtle, who started off undefeated in the 3 seed this season. He was doing so well that he moved to the 2 seed, and guess what? He won again 2-0 in the 2 seed and 2-0 in the 3 seed, beating ABC in the 2 seed this week and continuing their domination over the Orange Conference. Very impressive. Ban Pality if you dare, because Turtle is going to beat you. Watch out, Orange Conference, for this dominant 2 seed.
Yeah, and what's more, I think he's already played for this week too, and he's already won again. Turtle is apparently totally unstoppable in Hero. Moving on, next we have for the Pro Series, our player of the week is Buck Nasty ZB. He's out here flexing on the rest of us, bringing 2 plate breakers in his pro lineup this last week and taking down a big 3-0 sweep over Fanboy HS without even facing the Warrior from his opponent. This victory secured a 15-12 win for the boys. And next up, what are we going to see? Maybe 4 plate breakers from Buck? Challenge thrown out there. Please, Buck, prove us prove us right and just keep winning with all the plate breakers. Congratulations, of course, to those players of the week. Next, we have Wild and Battlegrounds. Marty, can you read me the Wild player of the week?
So we have Slad. Slad went absolutely beast mode and took an important 3-0 to help his team continue to be undefeated in a very tight match. Slad himself is undefeated, and his team, Sea of Cheese, are in an excellent spot for playoffs. Look for Slad to continue his rampage in Wild Series. I do want to mention, Slad was supposed to lose this week. He was hard countered. He brought Odd Warrior, and his opponent Keith Numbers brought the nuts to beat Odd Warrior. But Slad still found a way, and didn't even just find a way, he swept, which is insane.
Wow. Yeah, congratulations on a really impressive win with long odds. And lastly, our player of the week for Battlegrounds is none other than Jumpfloat, who is here with us on the call tonight. Jumpfloat of the well-oiled machine that was Bob's Bounty Hunters absolutely lost his mind in the final 2 lobbies, placing first in both games and securing another 20-point performance for the crowd favorites on their way to being crowned the Alpha Season Champions. Right up, brought to you by Itachi. So congratulations to all players of the week. Jumpfloat especially, that's insane. Captain of the team, started off, a little bit shaky, if I recall, in one of the earlier weeks where you guys didn't have that big of a lead and just double first.
Thank you so much. It was really a nice showing to, come out and get the double first. The week before, I thought I was gonna get the double first again, and I got first in game 1, and then I think I got like 7th in game 2. So it was nice to end on a good note.
Yep, absolutely. Well, really impressive way to close out that season. And let's move on over to our recap of Battlegrounds last week. And looking at it on the screen here, we've got in front of us the lobbies. As we mentioned, of course, Jumpfloat with the double first places. We also have for Andrasti, that's a third and a second. For HapaBear, a first and a third. And for Pocky, a second and a fifth. I mean, it was somewhat close to where they actually had a debate on the previous Mondays around the saloon. Is it actually going to be Bob's Bounty Hunters that wins the title? Well, you guys answered that pretty resoundingly here. I mean, the worst place in all 4 games was a 5th? That's absurd. Talk to me about this, guys.
Wow.
I think
so, go
the
ahead, Bob.
whole season that we had pretty consistent performances, and we really, like, even before the league format series began, we practiced,
Nice.
and I think we got a lot better throughout the season at co-oping and playing with a teammate. The first during the regular season, it wasn't as clear because we would sometimes just
Deal so much damage to each
yeah,
other.
exactly.
That's
And
another thing about
Right.
this. Yeah, it's a huge
Definitely
part
had
of
some goof-ups
dual
there.
playing.
Yeah, but we definitely got a lot of practice. Like you said, over the course of the week, I just feel like we had gotten better and better. We did kind of start off shaky. We weren't just in first place from the start, but I feel like we really kind of, had to pull that back and then eventually take the lead. And another event, another team event, kind of helped in between there. And I feel like this helped us prep for that, and that helped us prep for this as well. So we got some good practice.
Nice. Well, we do have some special questions for you guys from our community. This you can maybe decide among yourselves who wants to answer it, or potentially all of you, each of you could answer individually for yourselves. But to start off, what was your favorite comp that you had during the season? Would you like me to start with any one of you in particular, or just choose amongst yourselves?
I'll start, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, you can go in order of points. That's a good one.
And we could just keep it by this in the same order or something like that. But yeah, I would say that my favorite comp was definitely Menagerie with Caligos. Basically, I just love having the like a Lightfanger brand start, but then once you hit the Caligos at tier 6 and maybe get another one, it's kind of move into more Cali Menagerie, and things just get insane from there. And I really like adding the Cali to Menagerie and focusing on dragons because of Nadina, because of the fact that at a certain point you get to add Divine Shield to all of those minions you buffed up, as long as you can find that card. So that was my favorite.
Nice.
Throughout the
I like
season,
it.
I would say.
Giant stats with Divine Shield seems good.
Yep.
Absolutely. My favorite comp is actually somewhere along the same lines. Menagerie has always been a good go-to for me, and specifically even with Millhouse as a hero, I feel like can just pull that off so well. I do like the Caligos route. I also do kind of like a bit of a pirate route in there, especially with Millhouse, with pulling off Hogger and that type of thing. But Menagerie, definitely my favorite. Brand, one of my favorite cards in the game. And I just love being able to have that flexibility that going a single tribe often doesn't have.
Awesome. I like it.
I think
what about you, Pocky?
I think my favorite game was earlier in the competition. There was a game where I got a good Khadgar setup, and I think I went against Hapa in one of the critical moments that I needed to survive, and she was able to not deal enough damage, and then I sort of just went off and did my own thing, which isn't super great in the spirit of the competition, but it ended up giving me a winning board, so I was I was more than happy with it, and I love my high APM
Pocky's favorite
plays.
comp
So
is Khadgar transitions into any comp,
Absolutely.
basically.
Nice.
and we communication is very important with teams and all that, but definitely Pocky has those moments where he's doing that Khadgar transition where we're just like, don't talk to him.
It's
He's
just
doing
like
his
we
own
can't.
thing.
Yeah.
Nice. And last up, Jumpfloat. Favorite comp?
I think you'll probably hear a running trend here, but it was a menagerie comp. But I think what mattered to me
Fair.
was the hero that I got in game 1 of the finals the first week. I got Zephyrus. I was playing with Andrasti, and we pretty much got like 4 choices for each of us of like low tier 3 or tier 4 heroes. So I was like, Zephyrus could be okay. And I ended up getting the first. And to me, those are the games that are the most satisfying because, you get Elise, you get Omu, you get Jandis with like a good token start or something. Those games just like
Mhm.
feel like the first happens naturally. But when you get like a pretty bad hero and end up pulling off the first, that I find that those games are more gratifying.
Nice. That's a great answer. Great answer from all of you. Next question I have for you all. This one I'm kind of excited about because I really want to know what your off the cuff answers are for this. What is your favorite hero, regardless of viability? So Hoppa first.
Ooh. Flurgle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm on board.
Regardless of viability, 100% Flurgle.
Always
If
four
I'm on a
square
Smurf
locks.
account, I'm playing Flurgle. If I'm in a game with other people and it doesn't matter, like a private lobby, I'm playing Flurgle. I absolutely love that hero.
Awesome.
And I know I keep waiting for it to be a little bit stronger, thinking maybe the spells will help it, maybe the fact that Primal Fin is at tier 4 will help it enough. Not quite, but you could still super high roll, get the brand early and kind of maybe get a second or first place with it. So it's got the potential. It's very high rolly, but it's too much fun. I love
Oh
it.
yeah. The scams are real. What about you,
Mhm.
Andrasti?
I had mentioned it before, but I think Millhouse has just like always been my favorite. I love the amount of choices that you have to make in with Millhouse. You can literally transpose your entire board, between turns, just selling things off, buying things, and you have enough money to pull that off. Plus, being able to hedge toward
Mhm.
that menagerie is always fun for me. But if I was picking something that wasn't necessarily top tier, I'd probably go with Alakir. I've always kind of been fond of Alakir. Can pull off some pretty cool little tricks with cleave and that type of thing, being able to have that up front. So and always having that taunt on board is kind of nice. So that's definitely my backup right there.
Nice.
Awesome. Pocky?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely AFK. A weird choice. I don't know if
Sweet.
anyone would pick that one, but I mean, I've been playing Battlegrounds since it came out, and when it first came out, like the playstyle of taking a little bit of damage early to like really accelerate your game, just fit my playstyle so
Mhm.
much. The only honorable mention I think was that Eudora, when she was top tier, was probably like
Oh
overtook that spot
yeah.
because it was a very similar playstyle where you just, like
Mhm.
I don't really care about my health for the first 3-4 turns, and then you really are going. Um, so yeah, it suited my playstyle, and AFK I think is still underrated, and I like picking her and speaking speaking sweet things about why others should. But yeah.
Yes, you do.
Solid. Solid. I support it. AFK is fun. All right, and last up, Jumpfloat.
So I have a weird answer as well, and it's a tie. So, in terms of auto battlers, my background comes from TFT, so which is like a very econ centric auto battler. Whereas Hearthstone, it's kind of like, your gold is your gold. You can hold some gold in your hand, but it's not as econ centric as a game like
Mhm.
Teamfight Tactics. And so I've always loved Crag and Lich Bazal, but they're both like pretty bad. So it's kind of unfortunate. In terms of good heroes that also kind of appeal to the econ side of things, I just love Millhouse as well, just like Andrasti. But I think I'd have to say a tie between Crag and Lich B because it's really all about the money.
Solid. Okay. That's a very defensible point. I like it.
All right. So we have another question for you. Okay. Which minion do you find players choosing that you don't think is a good buy? So in essence, the minion is bait. Which minion do you see players taking do you think is bait?
Ooh.
Huh.
Papa, you want to go first?
Um, I would probably have to think about it more to be sure. So I'm gonna go with my instinct right now and say, oh, you know what? I personally think that the taunt stuff is usually bait, but not the 4-5 and the 5-5 because those add stats to get you to the late game where you can move out of it. But I really, really don't like that. I think it's a 2-2. I can't remember the name of that card. It's like
Champion of
2/4.
Yasharj.
Champion of Yasharj. I think that card is so baity unless you have just a full board of taunts. Maybe then, but even then, I think you don't really want. It takes a while to build up, and by the time you build it up, you're in late game where you don't really want a minion with no type to be essential part of your comp. You want it to be a dragon or a murloc, something that can get buffed with Bran, Light Fang, get Divine Shield, get Poison. So I think that it's not good enough tempo, and then it's not good enough in late game. I think that card's a bait. I don't like it, but I like the other two taunt things.
Nice. Yeah, that minion always like I definitely feel like it's a bait type minion because I want to buy
Yeah.
it and it always seems bad.
Yeah.
All right, Andrasti.
So I would say, and this is not necessarily for all the cases, but I feel like a card that shouldn't necessarily always be picked up would be Toxfin, actually. This was more kind of when I was climbing the ladder as opposed to kind of where I am now. But I feel like a lot of times when people were trying to get this Murloc comp together, they would grab these Toxfins like right off the bat, and the Murlocs would just be so small that they would still end up trading 1-for-1 regardless. And I feel like it would often kind of decelerate their growth, right? Like they need to find cold lights and that type of thing. I know Murlocs aren't as much in the meta right now, other than kind of a mix of menagerie for the poison stuff. And Toxfin still definitely has its use, but I feel like it's not something that you just auto grab when you have a Murloc necessarily.
Uh-oh, that is literally what I always do. You're speaking my language though. Always force Murlocs is.
I have a friend who really loved playing Murlocs, and I would watch his games sometimes, and he would just pick them up like way too early when he got to 4, and I'm like, you really need to be trying to triple into that brand and stuff. You can't be wasting all this gold just like poisoning up your little Murlocs right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that's one of the most common mistakes that people still figuring out the game are doing, that they value the poisons too much too early.
Right.
And when we're streaming, I think we notice a lot of people will say stuff like Miss Toxfin, and it's like it's turn 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this poison is not gonna be as good as a 5/8 here, because the 5/8 will trade
The
2
1/2,
things, but the
body
2
is
thing
irrelevant.
poison Murloc will trade 1. Yeah,
Smart.
exactly.
What about you, Pocky?
I guess it's a little bit of a controversial pick, but I have to go with Wrathweaver.
You hate demons.
I'm screaming.
Yeah, like I said, controversial pick. I'm notorious for hating demons. I don't like the playstyle of like damaging yourself, getting some big minions that eventually just get killed by poison, can't get natural divine shields. Sometimes it is just like the right play, but I think especially like semi recently, there have been times when people just took Wrathweavers just because it's like, oh, it's okay tempo or whatever, and I just think it's bait. I hate going
Fair
down
enough.
that path because
Highly disagree.
it locks you
but-
into like those minions, and then you have it later on when you want to go like menagerie or something like so many people like, and you have this weird vanilla thing that just grows when you play demons, and you just want actual battle cries instead, and yeah, so
Then you just sell it.
Yeah, that's when you sell it. You use the tempo early on.
All right, I know
and
you're
it's good
ready,
tempo.
Jumpfloat. Then.
Yeah, I hard disagree with Pocky on that one. I freaking love Wrathweaver. And I probably take it more than I should. So in all reality, I should find the happy medium. But I'll defend my pink boy. I think the one card that I think is bait and that I kind of roll my eyes when I see people pick it, specifically early and mid game, is a selfless hero. Like sometimes I'll see
yeah.
people buy it early and I'm like, it's so bad. Like, sure, eventually the triple will be good in a late game scenario, but you got to get there first. And if if that's what you take on your first tier 2 shop, it's like that shop must have been so bad. Like, I don't know. I think it's totally bait early and mid game.
Yeah, God. I have to say I agree with you that people take it. When they have it on turn 3 or turn 4, I'm like, okay, most likely they just had a terrible shot. That's what I think. But I do feel that people take it a little bit too early or want to take it a little bit too early around turns 8 and 9 or so. It's like they settle for a selfless when maybe they shouldn't, because you want it in your by turn 15, 16 if you're alive then, but in the
Right.
meantime, it's kind of wasting 3 gold, I think.
Yeah,
People get
it depends
yeah,
on your board, right?
it
Like
does,
early
yeah.
game, like shielding a 3/2, okay, that's
Yeah.
like worth nothing. But
Also, late
late
game,
game when
people will
it's
pick it up and they'll have maybe 2 carries and the rest of their board's a Bran, a 4/4, a 3/3, and then they pick up the selfless rather than take one more roll, and I think that that might be a mistake.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
I
there's
think
just
I
so many
might
times that it's
actually.
not worth it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think I might actually be interested in a Bob's Bounty Hunters podcast, because like the amount of BG's knowledge that I don't have that you guys are just like casually dropping is pretty great. Food for thought, maybe. I don't know, but
It's
we don't
pretty
want to
Thank
funny
take
that
up.
you
you.
mentioned
the
that actually, because
Yeah.
Oh,
this
something
has
in the
kind of been a
works.
running. It's been something that's been a running joke for us for a while, like a semi joke. We sort of
Mhm.
after our games each week on like the Fridays and Sundays, we would often just kind of all hop in the chat together and just discuss. And one of us would be streaming, and we would just have a podcast just spontaneously where we
Right.
discuss the meta, discuss the games, discuss everything that was going on for us. So it's really funny that you should mention that.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you.
yeah, it sounds like more
That's a
pressure.
compliment.
We're
Yeah.
doing it. It's
Yeah,
happening.
Pocky's just worried about trying to put it together. You got to
All
have
right,
somebody else put
nice.
it together,
Well,
I
and then we
think
can
the
run it.
issue is we like talking. We don't like the idea of having to do extra
Do the
work.
work to put it
right.
together.
Like uploading it, figuring out how to
Yeah,
make a
if
podcast.
somebody else is willing to do the groundwork, you're there.
Yes,
I love it.
exactly.
Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time. I'd like to see the floor to you guys just as a team for final shout outs or other things before we move on to the other 4 series. We're going to try to cram as much in as we can in our short time frame, but really, really happy that you all were able to make it here on the show. Floor is yours. I guess starting in the same order.
Thank you so much again for having us. And I want to give a shout out to Jumpfloat for finding out about this league format series,
Nice.
and inviting me and putting together this team, because like I said before, it was one of my favorite experiences in these last couple of months. I had a blast. I feel like it really improved my game. I got a lot closer with my teammates. So thank you, Jump, for being a part of this. Thanks to all of my teammates. And thank you for the people who put it on as well. I really enjoyed it and appreciated that a lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, big
absolutely.
shout out to Baystink, who did so much groundwork to make sure that Battlegrounds got off the ground and running. Really, really happy with how it turned out, and thank you very much. Moving on to Andrasti.
Yeah, definitely. Just like to thank my team again. I know all of us are basically going to be saying that, but Jump for putting this together, Hapa for kind of reaching out to me to add me to the team, and just for all these guys. I've been watching their streams for quite a while. I was kind of starting to get into watching smaller streams when I had started streaming, and I know Hapa's was one of the first that I had found, and then eventually Pocky after that, and just getting to hang out and chat with them and just talk Battlegrounds. I always knew that was a lot of fun, but once we were able to really get together and talk in voice and really work together on this stuff, it just made it all the better. So thank you all of you guys for that.
Awesome.
Aw.
All right, Pocky.
Yeah, I mean, I had to say the same. Big shout out to my teammates. I think one thing that was cool is we spent time, like I said, preparing for this format, playing duos together, and during the season, one of the weeks I had to sub because Andrasti, Jumpfloat, and Hapa were all playing in a duos tournament still, and they all did amazing. Hapa made it to the finals, and I think a lot of that was credit to the experience that we got in this. And I mean, I'm just proud that we were able to all improve at Battlegrounds as a whole, improve as a team, and win, which feels great. Um, and yeah, I'm just happy to have been able to play with such amazing players.
Yeah, this is the way.
Nice. Excellent reference. And last off, bring us home, Captain Jumpfloat. Final words.
So, of course, I have to shout out my team. I mean, they're all so amazing, both as people and as players. I've been a member of Hapa's community for a while, but before the THL League format series, I didn't really know Andrasti and Pocky too well. We interacted in chat and like here and there on Discord, but I didn't know them personally. And like the conversations we've had have been so incredible, and we wouldn't have been brought together if it weren't for this league format series and Hapa for suggesting to get them. So, I mean, I consider them both friends now. We had so many good games and so much fun afterwards, just talking about the game. So, I got to shout out all three.
That's awesome. Yeah. Getting better, bringing people together, exactly what you love to see from THL. Well, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining the show. A big congratulations again to just like an absurdly dominant season and a really impressive win. And we hope to see more of you in the future.
Thank
Awesome.
you
Thank
Thank
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
This is really fun. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so pleased that you guys could join. And now, of course, we are going to try to cram in our remaining series into this show as quickly as we can. So we are going to transition over to the recap of the Hero series, starting with the Hero Meta Report. Marty, I know you frequently have a little bit on the meta. Go ahead and take it away from here if you want with a little breakdown of what we're seeing from last week.
So Hero is one of the formats or one of the series that I don't really focus as much on, but I can still do my best here. So, just taking a quick look at lineups, seeing Paladin, Rogue, Warlock, Warrior at the top, it is no surprise they are doing well. Rogue and Warrior are insane. Zulok is also in a very good spot. Warlock having another class in Galakron Warlock, giving it a lot of flexibility. And Paladin being Paladin, always a solid choice. No surprise seeing it at the top there. What's interesting is seeing Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior having a 100% win rate in terms of matches this week. Very interesting. Something to keep an eye on. So
Yeah,
beyond
absolutely.
beyond
And I
that,
mean, we might see like I mean, this is one of the biggest like grain of salt meta reports that we're gonna see
Yeah.
just this whole show with 35 brand new cards being introduced to really shake up the meta. So just kind of briefly mentioning in passing, we'll say Shaman still pretty high up there for total bans, but post nerf not being banned at all. Rogue and Warrior, the biggest enemies for bans, with Paladin slightly behind. And of course, Hero Meta still shows a lot of total bans for Demon Hunter, but that was also pre-nerf. The bans for Demon Hunter very low post-nerf. So with that, we're going to jump right on into Orange Conference. And Orange Conference, we are only covering one of these matches. We've got two matches on the screen for you. We will for all of these matches that we cover, but we're only highlighting just the top one for right now to discuss. So to start off, Tonk If You Were Corny versus Gungan Us Among. Lotus, walk me through this matchup here.
So, Agunga Nazamong is one of those teams that was so hyped before because they're all insane. They have like basically their top three players are some of the best players in standard right now, along amongst many tournaments. They're just doing super well, and this has not been their season. Always Just in Time beat Dardar 3-2. Turtle beat Avi 3-2, continuing his insane streak. CMAC beat Mostar 3-2. Nine Eyebrows beat Scritch 3-2, and RoboCats won against Gert Reynolds, or however you say it. So overall, Tonka Corning showing a really good strength against a team that everyone bet being the first. It puts a really interesting spin on Orange, where you have these two teams that are basically way above everyone else. And this is the time where you need to focus. You don't have points to waste anymore. Halfway point is over for Hero. So, really important for those two, or for those three below, to catch up to ATL and Tonk if you want to have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. ATL, of course, had a bye week last week, still at 80 points in the top of the conference, undefeated. Tonk, if you were corny, just very slightly behind them right now And then you just have a whole bunch of teams that are really close in points in the bottom three. But Agunganas among one of the most hyped teams coming into this season and actually tied for last in the standings. We also had a tie in Servants of Yogg-Saron in versus Dark Side of Cthulhu. So Orange will be pretty interesting to keep an eye on in the weeks to come.
Right.
And again, in this extremely shortened version of recaps, we're going to move on to Purple next. Purple, we have Vote of Some Confidence still in the lead after a bye week, 72 points up at the top. And our highlight match here, Dad Legend versus Feet of Cthulhu, a pretty close one. Walk me through what happened here. I'll go again with Lotus, and Marty, you'll take the next one, since it was, of course, your team that got the victory.
Sure.
This was a tight match. Feet of Cthulhu is another one of those teams that they just have some insane players. They should be doing better than they are. No one really expected them to be the last team in purple, I think. And although purple is really insane, I had a great match with Valera that might have involved a bit of rogue RNG stuff because
Rogue doing rogue things,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe a turn two Edwin might have happened. I'm not going to say anything about that, but it was a really interesting match, and I think Icicles bringing that mage, which is probably what everyone calls one of the weakest classes right now, and beating Nails 3-0. Starlax losing to Free Hong Kong 1-3. Dark beat Cat 3-2, and Sharkbait lost to Shabaka. I wanna say I didn't have enough time to submit a player of the week, but I was going to name Dart because Dart pulled an insane win with just a really cool lineup, a lot of thought process. We were debating a lot what to do beforehand, and Dart is awesome. So I'll just give a shout out here to Dart.
Nice. Yeah, and just to round out the rest of the conference, of course, we had a Tanpam Surf Slam versus Fair and Balanced with a 14-10 win, while Vote of Some Confidence was on a bye, still holding that top spot, but the gap getting closed by Dad Legend. Tanpam's not too far behind. Fair and Balanced a little bit behind that, and Feet of Cthulhu, as you mentioned, it still looks like a very strong team. Last place for now. There's still enough weeks and points to be earned that they might be able to work their way into the playoffs still, but they got to start winning right away. And with that, we will move on to the Teal Conference, where we have a new leader. So Ask HS had the top spot for a little while, had a bye week, and got passed pretty much by default while they were on bye. But in the following week, Dab on him put up a huge amount of points to actually take Teal's top spot with 71 points now. Our highlight match, though, is going to be Ask HS versus F2L Black. Ask HS just barely losing their top spot here. Marty, walk me through this match. What happened?
So if you ask me, this was really the match of the week in Hero. Ask Hearthstone, we know how dominant they've been throughout seasons and just over the years in general. It's insane how consistent they are. They're always a playoff team, always at the top. Just unbelievable. But F2L struggling a bit, coming in 1-2, actually pulling off the upset. Just insane. Okay, 13-10, Itachi falling 1-3 against Mr. Python. Mr. Python is 4-0 now. Mr. Python having a fantastic season. Rebob turning it around though. Hockey Boys also getting a sweep. Both these players got sweeps for their team. Okay? Which is nuts. Chronic then coming in clutch with the 5-game 3-2 win. And finally, Kaz getting swept, but his team was good enough to bring it home. Gotta say, I am very proud of these guys. They really showed that they could hang around the best of the best, and I'd look out for them.
Yeah, F2L definitely climbing up the Teal Conference ladder here. They are very close to the second place spot and only 3 points behind, of course, the team that they did just get a victory over. So a lot of season left to be played, a lot of room to work their way into the playoffs, of course. What's interesting to note when you look at this as well, that 5-0 It's because some of these players have played already in the next week. So Hockey Boy's not satisfied with being 4-0 and dominant here. He's already won in the next week as well. He's played his match early and he's got a victory. So definitely a team to watch out for. To round out this conference, of course, we do have the big win for Dab on him with 20-7 over the transfer students. No Pros here did have the top spot in the conference before their bye week, and they got passed by 3 teams. So No Pros here now under some pressure to try to pick things up and see if they can work their way back up to the top. And it should be an exciting next week that they will cover, of course, for you on Tavern Talk tomorrow. But with that, this is your Hero Series last week, and we are going to cover our newest segment since we've hit week 4 in all series but Wild. We have player power rankings. We've got an updated one for you for Hero. This is Hero Series Week 5. Let's put that up on the screen. And who else but Turtle up at the top? That actually should say 4-0, even though he's actually 5-0 now. Looks like it didn't update his record. The rest of them should be updated, though, with Hockey Boys, Mr. Python, Dewin, Charp, Skittles, Matty Ebbs, Risen, Desharmo, and Heatshock as your top 10. And of course, we have honorable mentions, the players that are just barely on the cusp of that top 10. Gymphalos, your Mumked, Buse, Isocles, and none other than our very own LotusKnight, right at the very outskirts of your player power rankings top 10 here.
You're having a solid season there.
Yeah, Lotus. Since you're on the show, tell us a little bit about your win, namely a win over a certain player that you beat with multiple sticky fingers.
I just want to say the trick was to be one of the first people to figure out that you can put sticky fingers into every deck and have a good chance against Shop. That's
right.
That's my claim to fame right now. It doesn't work anymore because there's not that much shaman around. But yeah, this was interesting season for Hero. I know a few players are not enjoying Hero right now, but I actually think Hero is quite cool. There are some interesting thoughts, and it's hard because you have 2 super strong classes, so you need to build your hero lineup taking that into account. And that makes it more challenging in some ways. But I think Hero is having a great season, and these players are here to show it. There are a lot of players with just a really good hero record.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our top 2, Turtle and Hockey Boys, I've now updated Turtle's record, so it should reflect his 4-0 at the time of the player power rankings coming out. But Turtle and Hockey Boys are both already 5-0.
Right.
Oh no, looks like Mr. Python's wasn't updated either. Oops. But yeah, anyway, that will round out the player power rankings for Hero. Going to be very interested to see who else might be able to crack into these rankings, who might be falling out of these rankings, and stay tuned, of course, for next week as the player power rankings, always controversial, I'm sure, brought to you by Don Day. Check out his blog post where he actually breaks it down with an article on each one rather than just the list of players for more information. Anything else to say on player power rankings for Hero before we move on to our Wild recap?
I just want to keep the disclaimer that player power rankings are rigged. And I know Donde hides the numbers. He only counts the numbers he wants to count.
Yep.
And we all act like it's not the case, but we know it's true. So I'm accusing Donde live again, because why not?
Well
I
said.
can confirm he conspires with Mako on Saloon all the time.
Yes.
Nice. Just for completeness sake, I did actually update before we transition to the next screen. We do have Mr. Python's record corrected as well. So our top 5, 6, 7 players all at 4-0 right now. Pretty impressive seasons all, and congratulations to all these players up at the top. And with that, we will move on to our wild recap, starting with the meta report. Marty, I know you've got a little bit more for us in wild compared to hero, of course, so I'll let you take it away with the meta breakdown.
Yeah, so once again, I'm gonna try to shy away from lineups really. And I want to talk about class win rates and archetype brings. So there's no real difference in class win rates this week. Things are pretty straightforward. It's interesting to see Shaman so high from the last week. There aren't many brings for Shaman, so that's very obviously a target, more or less, for Shaman. Mage being so high, no surprise there. Priest doing very well, also no surprise. Paladin, pretty solid, but only 8 and 6. I'm very curious to see where that would be and how that would have lined up. And actually, we do have a little bit of info on that.
Oh,
So, yes, we do. So, in terms of class popularity, Secret Mage, Reno Priest, Dark Lair, the usual popular stuff, always the same. Warrior is still very diverse. You got Pirate Warrior, Odd Warrior, Bomb Warrior, ETC Warrior, Galakron Warrior, Dead Man's Hand Warrior, even a Cthulhu Warrior. Yes, someone decided to bring Cthulhu Warrior.
wow.
Can't imagine what they were thinking.
Oh.
Little birdie tells me they also brought Mecha'thun Warlock. Imagine doing that in this meta. But anyways, yeah, so we talked about Paladin. Paladin had 3 main archetypes, primarily Odd Paladin. There were 11 of those. And we have 3 Murloc Paladins and 2 Hand Buff Paladins. Hand Buff Paladin is Sleeper. Okay, I don't know much about this deck. Only a few people play it on ladder. It's pretty solid. Not sure how it would do in Conquest, but definitely worth exploring.
Nice.
So, given that, we look at Mage. Vast majority is Secret. And then we have a few Reno Secret, 8 of those. And finally, 4 of each Quest and LPG Reno Mage. Hunter saw some brings too. We actually had 4 Hunter archetypes. We had Reno Hunter, even Reno Hunter, and finally Secret Hunter.
If I'm
As for
correct, did
Druid,
Do It not even bring Hunter last week either?
I don't think so. No,
Yeah,
I can.
I'm blown away. 4 people brought Hunter and none of them were doing.
Actually, 6 people brought Hunter.
Oh wow. That's even more surprising.
Yeah, so I can check Duin real quick. He did not bring Hunter at all. So 6 people, not including Duin. Insane.
Will wonders never cease?
Yeah. So we look at Rogue. Rogue is dominated by Kingsbane. Almost all the decks are brought by Kingsbane rogues. You have a few meme decks in there, even Rogue, Big Rogue. There's also some odd rogues, which are pretty good. Very sleeper, but obviously people are just picking Kingsbane because you only bring one or the other if you're bringing Rogue. Shaman, pretty split among big, even Reno Shaman. Not much to say there. Druid is fairly diverse with a bunch of combo decks. Okay, you have Malygos Druid, a Togwaggle Druid, Jade Druid, mostly Yogs in those builds, actually. Demon Hunter, there's not much to say. You have Odd Demon Hunter and Soul Demon Hunter. And yeah, there's not much else that really sticks out. More of the same from last week. I'm curious to see if the mini expansion has any effect on this. So I'm sure some cards will be run and things might shift a little bit, but I'm not expecting too much of a shift. We will see with popularity.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably the only real meta report that will not be significantly impacted by the mini set coming out, as opposed to what we'll see with the other ones, which are all standard series, of course. Being wild, you have a massive pool of cards to choose from, so 35 has much less of an impact, especially when it's still kind of tailored to standard power levels, and wild power levels, as we know, are pretty absurdly high.
We will see. There are some cards that wild players are pretty keen on. Some of them going into archetypes that aren't as popular right now. So they may start making more appearances.
We'll keep a close eye on it, and of course, update you next week at the start of the changes of the meta. And moving on now, we're going to do a recap of last week that was the Green Conference in Wild. Starting off here, our highlighted match, F2L Viridian versus Hey Loser, but we can't go without mentioning everyone's a winner, just still doing what they do. Another massive victory right up at the very top of the standings, 63 points, and then you've got F2L just very closely behind with 57. So I know you're intimately familiar with this team, Marty. Why don't you walk me through F2L Viridian versus Hey Loser? What happened here?
Yeah. So this was our big brain week. We had to put on our thinking caps. Memnarch and company are always trying to counter us, so we got to counter the counter. Fortunately for me, I was able to counter Skittles because he expected Reno Priest, and I did not bring a Reno Priest. Corbett went the full Papega lineup, targeting Secret Mage with like 6 secret techs in every single one of its decks. It paid off. Pasca went the same route, did not work. It may or may not have to do with the single Reno or the single even hunter that he decided to bring. Can't confirm or deny. Roni is just a great player. Beat Rotted fair and square. Can't complain there. That was a very close series. Itachi versus Rami. If anyone's interested, that was on stream. I highly recommend. Overall, it was just a very fun series against what's basically F2L Viridian's rival and probably the biggest rivalry in the Wild series.
Nice. Yeah, really close match too. Very exciting one there.
For sure.
And just to round out the rest of course, Green Conference here, everyone's a winner in F2L Viridian up at the very top, kind of making early claims to very likely playoff berths. Followed by Hair Club, Made in Heaven, Patches Payback, and the Entertainers, all with pretty similar point totals. So it's going to be an interesting race for that third spot. And then dead last, Wild THL Fanatics, although they did finally get a win and a big one at that. So don't count them out. They were a championship team, or a team that made a championship, I should say, as recently as 2 seasons ago or last season. Was it last season? One of those.
So,
Either
yeah.
way, this team is still very good and surprised by their early struggles, but not a team to be counted out. We have listed on the screen for you the Entertainers with a big win over twitch.tv/MTG Succulent. Amazing shout out.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that team name. Could you repeat that?
And that will wrap things for Green Conference. Any other things about Green before we move to Brown?
I think that covers everything.
Awesome. So next up with Brown Conference here, still very much in the lead. Seas of Cheese. Just a huge amount of points. Every week they're picking up victories. They've been, I guess, kind of an underrated team. Unfortunately, Lemur is not able to join us tonight to brag about his team. So I'm going to have you break this one down for me, Marty. What happened in Seas of Cheese versus Hair Club?
Yeah, so I did talk about Slad's matchup a little bit earlier during our Player of the Week segment. And like I said before, he got the win with his deck in an extremely unfavored environment and was then able to pull off the sweep. So well done on him. Siege just coming in, recognizing what Burt brings and playing strong against it. Scritch actually, I believe, DQing by the end of the week, which is why White Delight got the 3-0 win. Otters just being an excellent player himself, taking a 3-1 victory. And finally, Concerned Mom struggling a bit. I do feel like this comes down to just being a bit unlucky. I know for a fact Mom is not an 0-2 player. He will be doing much better as the season goes on. Just needs to settle in.
Yep,
So, but
fair
congrats
enough.
to Blue Team Bro.
Early season, and it is still a card game at the end of the day. There's always some RNG involved, and there's plenty of time to turn it around. Rounding out the rest of Brown Conference, we have a Noyo team picking up a pretty big win over an early contender in Made in Heaven with a 13-8 victory, and that puts them second place in Brown, actually passing Hey Loser with their loss to F2L, although still very much in the mix at 47 points. Followed closely behind by Bash Bros 2, Electric Boogaloo. Of course, twitch.tv/MTG Succulent is on the list there, a little bit further out of playoff contention, but many games left to be played. Mad Scientists and Ghosts of Fellscream's Past do round out our bottom two, struggling to find wins early, but Mad Scientists, especially with a really tough strength of schedule early, can always have more time to pick things up and start finding those wins, getting back into contention. We do not have a wild player power rankings for you just yet, as the series started a little bit later than the others, but that will be coming very soon, I would expect. Any other things to say about Wild before we move on to, actually, first, our commercial break, and then Legacy?
Well, we are a bit short on time. I think we can move to that commercial break. What do you think?
Let's do it. All right. So, as always, rapid fire commercial. We're going to go back to the caster screen. So, hey there, Twitch viewers. Have you subscribed to Team Hearth Legends yet? No? Then make today the day to be a legend yourself and subscribe to our channel. This subscription enables the THL team to help cover the various costs of operating our website, as well as improve the quality of our streams and content to our viewers. If you have Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime, you can actually subscribe to this channel for free. Subscribers will get the THL emoticon as well as the lovely THL chat badge. So hit that heart button, keep the notifications on to make sure you catch our team broadcasting live. We appreciate each and every one of you. Special note to our viewers, check out THL's other social media points of interest, our website, teamhearthlegends.com. Follow us on Twitter at THL_HS. Join us on Discord at Team Hearth Legends. Check out the THL POW podcast for power rankings for all series wherever you find your podcasts. True Hearth Legends himself, Saku, continues to post all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search for Team Hearth Legends to catch everything previously recorded. You're, of course, watching us on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Team Hearth Legends, or possibly on our YouTube channel in the future. And for all you THL fanatics out there, there are THL shows every single day of the week. You can't go wrong tuning in at any time for some amazing Hearthstone-related content. Now back to the good part, which would be Legacy, as we jump right on back into our Legacy meta report. Let's put that up on the screen. And Lotus, talk to me a little bit about what we're seeing trend-wise in Legacy right now.
So Legacy and Hero, they tend to follow similar pattern. And we can see there's been this huge growth of the Paladin, Rogue, Warlock, Warrior lineup. And it's very related to the strength of Warlock. Warlock is a flexible class now. It's having great matchups. Paladin has some pretty good matchups as well. But I want to note that Warlock just does really well as long as it doesn't face Demon Hunter. And Paladin can do really well into some of the classes, which makes it have a really strong position. There's a good representation of Priest, but not enough samples to say whether Priest is broken or not. But the main thing to note here in Legacy is how this format has been polarized around Warrior and Rogue. And I think this is true for all formats. Even when Rogue doesn't have a great win rate, it doesn't because everyone is banning Rogue. We've seen plenty of insane Rogue sweeps, and just Rogue seems to be the best class on ladder, and Warrior seems to be right behind. So really strong showing for these two classes, even when they're such dominant bans.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top 5 in frequency of lineups brought, and every single one of them, Rogue and Warrior, make an appearance.
Yes. Yeah. The question is just want to go Paladin, Warlock, Demon Hunter, and the occasional Priest. Those are the other 4 choices. Druid is an option, but it's really, really bad. So is Hunter. The results, especially for Legacy, for both of these classes have been really bad.
Yeah, they're way down there. 35 and 27% win rates last week, and overall Hunter a little bit better, but still in the red, and Druid very much in the red.
The issue is just those classes, especially in a format like Legacy, you can target them pretty easily, and you need to get a win with every class. So when your opponent knows you're bringing something targetable, get ready to lose. It's going to be really hard. It's all about getting it through.
and that
Yep.
is the case for Druid and Hunter right now. Whether or not it's the case for Priest is arguable. I wouldn't say it is based on the data we're seeing, but it definitely seems to be the case for Druid and Hunter.
Yeah, and you look at those bans, and the bans always tell you a big story. Obviously, Rogue and Warrior way high up there in bans. Paladin looks to be the third class there, drawing the most bans from last week. And Shaman, just massive amounts of data for bans, so many bans overall. But last week, only 4, as that nerf seems to really hit hard. Once again, goes almost without saying, but worth mentioning still, I suppose. All of this, very much take it with a grain of salt. The meta could be changing dramatically with 35
Yeah.
cards incoming in just a couple of days.
Yeah, just a quick note on that, since we haven't talked about it so far. I actually have been saying in casting that this set was a pretty weak set. Honestly, it didn't affect the meta as much. A lot of the decks were just 1 or 2 pieces from other sets that became active or something. But I feel like this mini set is really high power level. So I think take everything we're saying here with a grain of salt, because things are going to change.
Oh, for sure. All right, and then moving on to our recap of the Gold Conference. We have Foolish Madmen still in the lead, just picking up big victories left and right. 81 points, 4-0. F2L Red just slightly behind them with a pretty big victory this week. But I want to cover Stubs of Prey versus Standard THL Degenerates. It featured one of our players of the week and also had a the very first victory for Standard THL Degenerates on this season. Lotus, walk me through this matchup. Tell me what happened.
This was Stubs of Prey. They weren't able to catch up to Standard THL Degenerates, and these are 2 teams that really need every single point. But this was such a close match. I don't know how to say this name. Sergeant Thag? Teabag?
Yeah, it's the first time they
But
get their name read on. You can just move past it.
yeah, Sergeant Teabag beat Gambler 3-0. Blue Jay beat Dracocat 3-1. Electric Sheep City 3-1 Osmonaut and winning Player of the Week. Phoenix lost 1-3 to Corrodin, and Kuro Finway beat Quaz 3-0. So Subs of Prey were trying to climb back, but this is rough. A loss to what would be the third to last team of this series makes it really hard.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Stubbs, it looks like this might be a death knell on the season. 38 points, 0-4, and looking up at the top with Foolish Madmen F2L Red at 81 and 73. Only the top 4 from each conference make playoffs, so it is going to be very hard for those teams at the bottom to make it.
Yeah.
F2L Red, though, picking up a huge victory over an undefeated team. They were both undefeated going in and getting 16-8 over Golden Common BTW, which moves Golden Common now to 4th in this conference, giving them a potential risk of missing playoffs. But this top 4 looks very, very solid. It's going to be extremely hard for any teams to overcome Madmen, F2L Red, ATL, and Golden Common. Defias and Standard THL Degenerates are the closest maybe to getting there. Pod People, they've got a history of always starting slow and making playoffs, but I don't know if they can really do it this season at 0-4 and 41 points. Might be too much of a stretch, but we will see.
Right.
Any other things on the Gold Conference before we move on to Red?
That's everything.
Sweet. All right. So the match I featured is my team getting beat up. Of course, I didn't do it just because of my team. I really wanted to highlight Murgle, who had a bit of a rocky start to the season and is really starting to pick up the pace here. Team Trees still in the lead in the conference with Dirty Mike and the boys just barely behind them. Which one of you guys is going to lay into me more to cover Murgle versus Prep? Go for it.
You want to get laid into.
Go ahead, Marty. The floor is
All right.
yours.
Well, so looking at these matches, so we see Murgle Reborn taking 3 of these. Adamas is just having a really rough time this season in multiple series. 0-4. Fuel taking it. I've seen some of those games Adamas has been in. These are not normal games. He's having a very difficult time, and it's out of his control. I actually feel bad for him, genuinely, because he does not deserve to be going through this. Dabs, though. Ron, you lost to Dabs?
Hey man, Dabs is really good. Leave me alone.
Ron, you got 3-1 into Dabs?
Yup.
Excuse me?
Oh, he beat me good.
No offense, Dabs. No offense, but like, Ron, what are
It
you
was
doing?
it was a bit of a massacre.
That was a massacre, obviously. Man, you banned Rogue and not Warrior? What is wrong? Ron, no wonder. What
I
are
was
you
a fool.
doing? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, 3-1 by Dabs. Excellent job by him. Ron, as much as I'm, harping into you, you are a fantastic player, and your PR really does show that, in my opinion. Debs taking it over Buse here. 3-0 sweep, very dominant. This whole thing was pretty lopsided in terms of matches, just 3-1s all the way down, except for Debs' sweep over Buse. Brushy taking a 3-1 win over G-Kick, and Chewbacca taking a 3-1 win over Saku. So,
Chewbacca's win over Soccer was surprising if you saw it on Schoolstone, because that was live, and Chewbacca brought a really bad Warlock deck, but played quite well, better than Saku, and deserved the win.
Oh, well, there you go. Sometimes that happens. Shu picking up his first win of the season's got to feel good. That was a clincher for Murgle, and also Buse going up against his old team in Murgle Reborn and getting beat by the captain himself. So was not able to beat the team that he left. These things happen sometimes. When we look at the standings for these teams, of course, big win by Dirty Mike and the boys over Swallows That Follows that determined who was going to be in second place on this week with that 15-13. But I'm just as Darren mentioned in the chat, I'm kind of blown away. Swallows That Follows has 60 points. They're in third place, but they're 1-3. Just goes to show the wins matter a whole lot less than the points when it comes to our standings here. All of Swallow's losses have been very close, and they had, I think, one massive blowout win.
Yeah, we had a really strong win, and I think most of our losses were basically 1 point different. I don't think we lost by more than 1 or 2 points every week.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we kind of have a real separation in Red Conference right now with Team Trees, Dirty Mike and the Boys, Swallows That Follows, and Murgle Reborn as our top 4. Chaos Theory, Finley Squires, Prep for Rogues, Ticket as Punchers, not too far behind, but I'm already kind of seeing that separation of the top 4 that looks like they're going to make the playoffs and the bottom 4 that are likely going to miss out. We do have a lot of season left to be played, but the strength of these teams tells me, and also because Prep is full of garbage players, myself included, that we're going to see a big gap start to widen between these top 4 and the bottom 4 going forward. Of course, stay tuned to find out. Any other things on red before we move on to silver?
I think you guys covered that very well. Can move on to silver.
Silver it is. We got it up on the screen here, and we have a new leader. They were tied for first last week. They were tied with Flame Pimps last week. It's Meme Dream Team, and they beat the Flame Pimps. 14-11 being the score. Now in first place with 71. Hot Sylphs just very closely behind them. Interestingly enough, Hot Sylphs and Flame Pimps barely behind Meme Dream Team. Both of those teams lost to Meme Dream Team in consecutive weeks. So, Lotus, walk me through this matchup here, the top one we have. What went down?
This was a really interesting match. Strong teams trying to see who was going to be ahead in Silver Conference. Easy Bake beat Valera 3-2. Not a super hot week for Valera. Clone lost to Taco Cat 1-3, and there appears to have been a DQ in the interval goose match, with interval winning 3-0. Wyfair beat Boolean 3-1, and Well Played lost 1-3 against. Why do you just give me the hard names?
Because it's fun.
Good old TF1. So TF1. Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
going to call her
TF1, that works.
or her. Yeah, so really strong showing by Mean Dream Team. Really weird bands. We're seeing like bands were all around. Most of the bands this week were Rogue and Warrior, and we see bands of a Shaman here, a Paladin, Demon Hunter, just kind of an all around match, but strong results.
Yeah. Definitely a great matchup there. I think this is a potential playoff preview match between these teams up at the top. And sort of similar to Red, I'm seeing the same kind of thing with a separation of the top four and the bottom four for likely playoff teams. Meme Dream Team, Hot Zilfs, Flame Pimps, and Dad Legend all looking very strong right now. With HSA, I mean, a team that has all the name recognition in the world. This is a multi-time champion and shouldn't be counted out, but they are currently quite a bit of points back, followed by teams that are still looking to find a win in Amberflight Gaming, Illidan's Death Knights, and a Noyo team bringing up the bottom here. Hearthstone Academy, of course, did take that 15-12 win over Amberflight Gaming. Dr. Fish's 4-0 start, notwithstanding. Sorry, Fish, but had to call you out on stream at the very least to shout you out for that amazing start, 4-0. Unfortunately, doesn't look like this is going to be the season where a record like that will pay off. I guess you never know. But that will wrap things up for Silver. And now, of course, we have the moment you've been waiting for. Player power rankings for the Legacy series. Fresh off the presses, this is week 4 Legacy. We're going to start off up at the top. I believe it's pronounced Trito 2 at 4-0 and 12-0. Are you kidding me? All he's done is sweep his opponents? Absurd. Who else but the player who can't even lose? Followed by Two Fly at 4-0, Automated Button 4-0, Snake Fods 4-0, Wild 9 4-0, Desharmo 4-0. I'm seeing a pattern here. Easy Bake, Rabobson in 7th, 4-0. Easy Bake, 4-0. Dr. Fish, 4-0. And finally, bringing up our 10th spot, Ghost, 3-1. We also have our honorable mentions. And, man, some of these honorable mentions are 4-0. Always Just in Time, Your Mumked, both undefeated as well. I'm going to guess maybe it's Didle.tf1. We'll just say TF1 at 3-1. Myanodon at 3-1. And Dabs at 3-1 round out our honorable mentions. So there you have it. What a list. Guys, what do you make of this Legacy? How is the top 9 undefeated? What is happening?
Well, it's just there's such a high number of players that probability-wise, you will have a higher number of 4-0 players. I want to see if this continues, though. Can a lot of these keep 4-0, or is this number going to fall and kind of converge into 1 or 2, which is the usual metric? We're still very early on. This is a shorter regular season than usual, and so we're starting the power rankings actually earlier. Usually, Legacy only starts power rankings on week 5.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was week 4 for each.
No, it used to be that we started at half point. And it used to be that we didn't even do for pro, but Donde just burns rules like I don't even know. I lost my analogy in the middle.
Nice.
Something.
All right. Well, congratulations to all of these players. Pretty incredible season so far. Great point too, Lotus, that we have so many teams in Legacy right now and so many players that there is a higher likelihood that you pretty much have to be undefeated or at worst one loss just to make this list.
Yeah.
maybe we'll see some shakeups in the near future. I mean, all it takes is a single loss, and you got a whole legion of other players who are either
Yeah.
undefeated or one loss waiting to pass you. So no spot in the power rankings appears to be safe.
Hmm. Definitely not. Something that I've been noticing as well, just as an interesting side note, the power level for 5 seeds has grown a lot for Legacy. And it's something I was looking at just routinely browsing Legacy, and there are a lot of really strong 5 seeds. So I want to congratulate all the 5 seeds here on just doing a really good job. And teams have been designed with such strong 5 seeds for quite a few cases that it's awesome to see it. Brings
Yeah,
the whole level of the league format series up.
absolutely, really impressive. And this is it for us for Legacy. We've got one final series to recap for you, along with a player power rankings for Pro. Any final words on Legacy before we move on to Pro?
I
Sounds
don't
good.
think so.
So, Marty, I know you've done a little bit on the pro meta here. We don't even have like a super high number of frequency for lineups like we've been seeing for some of the others. Uh, Maybe just more influenced by open list, but only 9 as the top brought lineup class-wise with Demon Hunter, Rogue, Warlock, Warrior. Same kind of bands we've been seeing before with Rogue and Warrior in the lead, but walk me through what's happening in the pro meta that is, of course, about to change with this mini set.
Man, I gotta say, you want to know how you know there were recent nerfs? You want to know?
The total bans compared to the last week bans for Shaman.
No, an even greater giveaway. The number of Highlander archetypes.
Oh, for
There were
sure, yes.
Highlander decks in 7 classes this last week. Just insane. Total memes. There were a lot of memes last week. I don't know what was going on. But once we get past those memes, like, Highlander, Demon Hunter, 3 Highlander druids for whatever reason there is that,
You love to see it.
Mask Mage,
People having fun.
two Quest Shamans, Quest Warlock. Like, guys, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
Come on, I give people a hard time in Wild all the time. And, like, I joke about doing this too, because, like, I did it in Wild last season with bringing stuff like Milrogue and Mech Paladin. But, anyways, moving on. We're not going to focus on that. Big popular archetypes. Pen Paladin, Libram Paladin, that's a very popular archetype. The second most popular archetype of last week, actually. Only surpassed by World Kick Rogue. I thought that was nerfed. Guess not. Rogue seeing a ton of brings, though. 71 brings.
There were 29 really
54 of
good
those.
World Kick Rogue cards that weren't nerfed. Seems still good to me.
Yeah, so we had 5 different Rogue archetypes.
Sorry, what was that, Lotus?
Oh, yeah.
The nerf card can still be played. It still costs 0. It's just you're
Yeah,
seeing
true.
it wrong.
Just cost 0
Yeah.
less times.
Yeah. But anyways, even though World Kick is still really good, we did see a lot of diversity within the Rogue class. 54 World Kicks, but then we have a few secret, handful of stealth rogues, 2 aggro rogues that were not stealth based, and a Highlander rogue. After that, we have Warrior. That was actually the most popular class to bring. That is very split among archetypes. Enrage, Control, Bomb, and ETC are all very popular. We also have a 5th archetype, Galakron, but only 1 bring there. I think you guys can all guess who that was. He's been playing it on stream, and he is known as a big data guy in Hearthstone. Donkey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so. Outside of that, we move on to Warlock. Warlock was very popular this week. Shaman left. It seems like Warlock took its place. 36 Zoo Warlocks. Zoo Warlock was just dominating the class, followed by 12 Galakron Warlocks, and then we have a Quest Warlock. Following that, we have Shaman. 11 Evolve Shamans. Evolve is still around for some reason. Don't really know if it's good. Can't say. Only 1 week. But people are still bringing it, so that must mean something. Shaman was mostly dominated by aggro, though. The aggro burn enhancement list. 15 of those. We have a few control shamans and the quest shamans, as I mentioned before. Beyond that, We have Hunter, mostly the aggro type, 7 Highliner, 6 Face, and a Dragon Hunter.
Oh yeah,
40
that's
Demon.
got to be for show. If it's Dragon Hunter,
It
it's for
was.
show.
It was. It was. Demon
Nice.
Hunter. Okay. Beyond the meme Highliner Demon Hunter. See a lot of Soul Demon Hunter at 22, 12 combo Demon Hunters, and then 5 aggro Demon Hunters. Demon Hunter is an interesting class. It is split, but I think we're going to see people starting to focus more on certain archetypes within that class instead of kind of bouncing around those 3.
Yeah.
And then finally, Priest and Mage. Priest, mostly control and Highliner. There's not much to really say there. We know how those archetypes are. Mage. Mage was mostly Highlander. The rest, in my opinion, very questionable.
Yeah. Oh, CMAC in chat actually makes kind of a good point, that there was a decent amount of rollovers that happened as well. So part of this is, somewhat influenced by a rollover meta.
Absolutely, but I like to pretend that they're all being potatoes instead because I feel superior that way.
Nice.
So, and there you have it.
All right, awesome. And then we'll move on to our recap for the Black Conference. Let's put that up on the screen. We had a very marquee match for you to lead off our highlighted match here. Hype Horizon versus Aeon. 2 undefeated teams. Aeon in the top spot in the conference before their bye week. Got passed by Hype Horizon while they were on bye. And now, of course, had to face the team themselves, the defending champs, and this was super close. Hype Horizon does come away with a win to keep the top spot for the boys, very close behind with a lot of points. But LotusKnight, break down this Hype Horizon Aeon match for me. What do we see here?
We see some really crazy results. I mean, Ox should never lose without winning one match just because of how good Ox is, and have 3-0'd him. And I think Hat is insane, but this is a crazy result. D Money 3-2ing Markshire, Donde winning, which sure. McBanterface beat Donkey 3-1, and Gamer RVG beat Risen 3-1 to just squeeze out that 1-point win. Was literally a 1-point victory. Just really close match. Both teams showing what they were there to do, and yeah, I feel very optimistic for Aeon after this one. Not that I wasn't before, but even more.
Oh yeah. They definitely proved that they're a very strong team, almost taking a victory off of Hype Horizon, which, as we've seen from last season and this season, is extremely rare. The other match that we have that we, of course, are pressed on time and won't be covering in depth for you is For the Boys versus Cirque du Soul Fragment. I just gotta mention this because big win for the Boys. Also had an on-stream match in German Shep versus Racy, which featured quite a lot of Lore Walker Show, which was hilarious to me. And then also, of course, our Player of the Week also came out of this one with Buck Nasty bringing 2 plate breakers in his lineup and still, of course, getting a victory. Through the rest of Black Conference, we've got Yashiraj's Clown College with a solid amount of points, followed by Aeon, Cirque du Soul Fragment, Swagoi Black, the unknown, kind of trailing a little bit further behind here. Then we get to Bad to the Bone, Swagoi Red, and down at the very bottom with Glockgora and Illini Esports really desperately needing some points to catch up as the gap is widening very quickly for this playoff race. Any last things for Black Conference before we move to our final conference of Pro?
Let's move on.
So
I'm
here
ready.
we have it. Pink Conference up on the screen. The invincible team that was Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich finally getting a loss, and a big one at that. Attack mode winning 17-9. Doesn't do enough to bump them from the top spot, but really impressive victory for attack mode that found, I think, their first win of the season. Marty, walk me through this. What happened here?
Yeah, so Mayan being on my legacy team, I actually spoke to him about this. Popeye's just really had a rough week for the most part. Just some bad rolls going the other way. Brian O'Brien staying strong 3-0 with a 3-2 victory over Mick. We see the same with Flamekiller over Bobby X. 3-2, very good there. On his Abe, just no luck whatsoever. Getting swept by Necra. Wet Goose, still very strong, pulling through with a 3-1 victory over Smork. And then Mayan low rolling once more, like the rest of his team, against Valera Light 1-3.
Yeah, awesome. So just really impressive. We'll see if attack mode might be able to continue this momentum. This was a much needed win that came at a really good time for them, putting them kind of in the middle of the standings. And with enough time left in the pro season, they can really start to work their way into the playoff conversation. So far, it doesn't look like anyone's bouncing Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich. I had to put up on screen the Tap Washers versus Sheepy's game. Sheepy's down almost at the very bottom of the standings, but taking a very close victory over the number 2 team. Just, I think, shows a lot about the overall power of all of Pro Series and how high caliber players we have. Faction is a team up at the very top here too, really fighting for that playoff spot. F2L very close behind with no pros here and the aforementioned attack mode, followed by Due Process, who at one point was tied for the lead in I think after week 1, Due Process was tied for first, now starting to get passed by quite a few teams. Rounding that out at the bottom of our standings, Corrupted Clown Fiesta, Sushi Rats, the aforementioned Sheepies, and Poem Locked and Loaded, who is really looking at a major uphill climb to get back into playoff contention. So, we won't keep you viewers waiting any longer. It's player power rankings for Pro Series coming in hot. Starting off with the number 1. Spam those rigged, because I don't know how this happened. I'm 3-0. There's 4-0 players on this list that are below me, but somehow here it is, your host Ron Mexico, 3-0, sitting at number 1 in player power rankings. I think I must have bribed Donde.
Rigged. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
Sorry,
definitely
I had something in
rigged.
my throat.
Followed closely behind, we have number 2 Heat Shock with a 4-0 record, Racy 3-1, Ridiculous Hat in 4th, 3-0, German Shep in 5th with a 4-0. A tie for 6th with Donde and Itachi with exactly the same 3-0 records and 9-2 game scores. Tie for 8th in a 3-way tie here to round out our 8th, 9th, and 10th players with McBanterface, Molestar, and Rescue Wabbit all at 3-1. And then, of course, moving on to our honorable mentions, players just outside of this top 10, we have Flamekiller at 3-0, Brian O'Brien at 3-0, Bobby X at 3-1, Buck Nasty at 3-1, Goose at 3-0, and Rice Bowl at 3-0. So, I mean, beyond this obviously just being very, very rigged, what else do we have to say about these power rankings, guys?
Well, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but I still think it's really early for us to look at power rankings because next week is when we reach the midpoint and then it starts to get really hot. But I think we have quite a lot of names who've been in THL for a while. And I think it's cool to see in seasons that just being consistent and playing for multiple seasons, you'll learn what you're doing better. You'll end up playing better in your third season than you did your first and your second. And I like seeing that. I always feel like that's a growth that a lot of players experience in THL. I personally grew a lot the time I started. I was not nearly as good as I still don't think I am when I started playing. So I like seeing that. And I think that's cool. I mean, we have Euron, we have Heat Shock, who's been in THL for a bit, Hat, who's been in THL since forever,
Donde, Itachi. I think German Chef has been for a while. Just really cool results.
Yeah, PAR is a very funny thing. For those of you who don't know, it takes into account a number of things. It considers points above replacement, kind of derived from a baseball stat, and sometimes it just gets really weird. Like Racy in third literally just lost to German Shep, who's in fifth, and German Shep is undefeated, and Racy has one loss, but Racy has one more PAR, so some strength of schedule considerations and otherwise. At the end of the season, these things usually balance out. You know, if you just keep winning, you're eventually going to get up at the very top, you would expect. Yeah, PAR is rigged. Absolutely spam those rigs. But this will wrap it up for our Pro Series. Any other things we want to say about this before we move on to our final couple segments where we go over our RNG card of the week and bring you a highlight from last week's streams?
Nope. Lotus, you had something to say?
I'll just say this for everyone because it's a useful thing to note is that deck submissions are due on Thursday this week. So just as a nice reminder, since we're ending talking about the series, don't forget you have until Thursday to submit, and because there's a new expansion or mini expansion coming out.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Great reminder. And with that, we'll move on back over to our caster screen. You can see our lovely pictures and GIF again. And our RNG card of the week. I teased it maybe slightly. What else could it be but Lore Walker Cho? This dude, he just kept showing up. It was cracking me up. I couldn't believe it. I was casting a match with Brushy Tuna on Thursday. It was German Shep versus Racy. Racy was playing an Evolved Shaman, and Cho showed up 4 separate times. Just unbelievable. And really
This was
created some complicated, like difficult situations for both players to navigate because Cho is a very weird card to have to try to deal with.
I mean, Cho deserves like RNG card status for life because Cho is just so amazing when it shows up out of nowhere. It kind of changes the match for a few turns where it's like, do I need to kill it, or can I just avoid playing spells for a bit, or do I just need to play spells and not care? Plus the
Yup,
disappointment when you summon a random 2-drop and there's Lord Walker Cho, just 0 for it.
absolutely. And one final thing for you. We have a highlight from the stream from last week. I believe this came from Schoolstone, with our very own MartyB on the cast, as well as Dr. Fish. And let's get that up on the screen. Marty, do you remember what was the match between?
Yes. So this was between Arhat's Highlander Priest and Dardar Binks's ETC Warrior.
Awesome. All right, let's put that up here.
He burned one of the pieces, but it's not too bad.
It really is though.
The main thing is that I don't know if Hat has his Zephyrs. He can hex that.
He does, but I don't even think he needs to. He's so close to finding lethal here.
I actually don't know how much damage he has. Oh, he's gonna take it.
Take it, yeah. He just takes it back.
Yes.
Push his face.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's it. I do not see a way out of this. I mean, if Brawl gets played here, it delays, but it doesn't quite do enough.
It doesn't delay.
He burned one of the pieces.
And there it is. That's your clip of the week. Rattlegore gets stolen. Rattlegore gets stolen right back. That was a pretty crazy game. It ended just barely off lethal for Darter, I think too.
Correct.
But yeah, definitely one of those worth checking out the VOD.
Absolutely.
So that will do it for our show for tonight. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Congratulations, as always, to our Battleground Series Alpha champions, Bob's Bounty Hunters, who graced our show earlier on in the show. We will do a final, of course, recap of what is coming up next for the week. But before we do, final words from our hosts, starting with Marty. Go ahead, floor is yours.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to the new set. Hope everyone else is. Should be super exciting, just in every format, really. I know we were talking about how Wild probably won't change much, but I do think there's a lot of potential for these cards to enhance some archetypes and possibly make a new one. There's a crazy new combo that might potentially come out of the new cards. I highly recommend you look around and see. It has to do with a forgotten card. I think it's like um man, I forgot the name. It's a 1/1 that deals damage when it attacks.
Oh
What is it?
yeah, Tiller,
Oh,
Wretched Tiller or something?
Yes, Wretched Tiller. So there's a Wretched Tiller combo that may OTK at 10 mana, and it's just going to be
you
insanely
don't
funny.
even can, right?
You can make that immune, and then you can make another minion immune,
Yeah,
and it'll just go
it's
on and
absurd.
on. It is.
Oh,
So standard, we'll probably see quite a shakeup too. We have new Librams. We have new cards just for every class. The dual class cards seem exciting. The corrupt cards seem exciting. I'm just really looking forward to the shakeup. So, and the deck
Nice.
building challenge too.
Oh yeah, always a fun thing to see like what new things are going to be introduced to the meta that will shake things up. So I know we're all excited to see what Thursday is going to bring and beyond. Um, and then over to you, Dr. LotusKnight. Final words for tonight.
so my final words would be: A, please don't forget the submission deadline extension to Thursday. But more importantly, Schoolstone has a really stacked lineup. Saturday we have Memnarch versus Mr. Python for Wild, followed by Ariana 20 versus Dabs for Legacy. I don't think you want to miss it.
Oh man.
But if
Yeah, those are
you
amazing
want to,
matches too.
yeah, those are really good. We're still looking for Sunday match. So if you would like to play, hit us up. You can DM me and we'll arrange it. We're looking for matches. All skill levels are welcome. It's a fun place to play. You get to get us commentating. We'll definitely come back with things that we thought you could have done better, things that we thought um, interesting plays that we thought, plays that we were curious. Why did you bring this deck? Why did you bring that deck shoe? I still don't get it. But it's a fun show, and if you would like to play, just DM me, and I'll be happy to have you.
Oh, question from Desharma in chat. What time frame for Sunday matches?
Right now, all times are open, so anytime between noon and 5 p.m. Eastern or 6 p.m. Eastern will be where we're projecting.
Awesome. All right, and that's it for us. As always, I'm your host, RonMexico. Please make sure to tune in to our upcoming shows for the remainder of the week. We have your preview show coming at you tomorrow, Tavern Talk on Wednesday, of course. On Thursday, we have matches to be casted with Thursday Throwdown, Friday night fights for more match casting, Saturday with Salty Saturday and Schoolstone on both Saturday and Sunday. We, of course, have more matches to follow on this channel, and then come back around to the start of the next week. Monday, we did miss out on Around the Saloon due to Mako needing to set up some moving things. So an extra special with an extra special guest, I think, that hasn't quite been announced yet for this next Monday on Around the Saloon. And as always, Tuesday again, you'll find us here with Hearthcenter. That has been our show. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you have a great night, and we will see you next time.
Bye.